And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Romanticide LE, we have the French Protoss player. He is red, representing himself. It is DnS.
Hopefully my Spanish was able to carry me through that pronunciation.
AqueroN. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Reminds everybody watching him to beber agua.
Agüita.
Agüita.
Yeah.
Sí.
Plenty of agüita here. Drink plenty of water out there. Make sure to hydrate your hydras, stretch your roaches out as we dive into our final series of the night here on the B stream for DreamHack Europe. And already we have a little bit of a spicy, like a light touch of spice here from AqueroN as he does hide his racks, but it's not a proxy.
Oh, is DNS gonna buy it? Is DNS gonna buy it? He doesn't. He checks to make sure, and he knows he's not gonna overreact.
Does he know?
He doesn't. Oh my.
Interesting moves here with, like, again, kind of a pseudo proxy factory. Are we gonna have like the proxied starport as well? Is that happening?
And is the starport going to be at a different location? It's the Nomad Terran style. You never leave all of your buildings in one location.
There you go, man. That's how you do it. That's how you do. I'm curious. I'm curious. As DNS is scouting around the edges of the map as well, making sure there's no hidden starport at the regular locations, like here towards the north and towards the south, and up here towards the north, I imagine as well. But yeah, we'll see what AqueroN has in store for us as he's continuing to pump out more Marines, and there is that starport.
For a Hellion drop, it seems.
Oh, interesting. And so far it has gone unscattered, and we have seen Hellion drops deal devastating damage. We actually, a bit of a reminder, I know it's a little bit hazy, it happened at the start of the night. Time versus Rewhite. We saw Hellions literally end the game.
He did, didn't he? Well, he ended the game, but then it went on for a couple more minutes.
I think he killed like 29 workers with his Hellions.
He did. Like, Rewhite gave it his all, tried to get back in there, but
yeah,
honestly, the game was done at that moment.
For those wondering, we were casting DreamHack China earlier today, and my time versus Rewhite was quite a TVP to behold. If you're a Protoss player, avert your eyes. Do not watch that VOD.
Well, Rewhite did take a map.
Yeah, no,
that's all I'll say.
Nah, true,
he took a map from Time and Jesh. It was honestly a pretty impressive debut showing. But speaking of impressive showings, Hellion drop coming out from AqueroN.
Yeah, let's go. We do see the medevac boosting across the map. Oh my god, the probe just barely does not scout the medevac. It is headed towards the main base, and here in the main, there's not much to defend against the Hellions.
It's gonna be the most frustrating timing ever. One Phoenix is gonna get out, but what is one Phoenix gonna do? It's gonna lift up a single Hellion. The rest of them are gonna wreak havoc in the mineral line. In the mineral line, still, I believe it takes 3 Hellions to one shot, but 2 Hellions, they don't have too much trouble either.
Yeah, exactly. So we do have a couple of volleys going off. The boys are being pulled to try and surround the Hellions. So far, the Hellions only get 2 worker kills.
Yeah, it was honestly a really good split from DnS, but AqueroN keeps repositioning his Hellions. Very decisive, though, from our red Protoss player. Does shut this down as quickly as possible. Unfortunately, will still sustain a couple of casualties.
Yeah, unfortunately, not the 29 worker kills that we saw earlier today, but 6.
Pretty close.
Yeah. Is it?
It's, wait, 29... 6.
Oh no, don't
23
do math.
difference.
Don't do math on stream, mate. Don't do it. But yeah, it does get 6 worker kills. You know, the proxy does manage to fly all the way back home. We are moving on from here. At least AqueroN was able to deal some damage, but he is still behind when it comes to the worker count.
Definitely.
Yeah, so I do worry a little bit for him. Meanwhile, we have continued Phoenix production on the side of DnS, opting not to go for an Oracle, which was an interesting decision. Again, just relying on pure Phoenixes for pure map control.
Yeah, I may be speaking mostly anecdotally here, Light, but I kind of do prefer Phoenixes in PvT more than PvZ.
True.
Especially if you know your opponent's going to be more tank heavy, at least at the start of the game. It's a really good way of just shutting down the Terran player's anchor.
Yeah, I mean, they are more standard for a reason. You know, again, Phoenixes in PvZ, we saw it today, but I imagine that's the only day we're going to see it for quite some time. So don't get used to it. Meanwhile, okay, one of the Phoenixes does get caught out by the lock-on. At the same time, we have a massive warp in into the main base. Yo, Stim is not done. Uh-oh.
Sim isn't done. The Marines are actually in position. I got worried for a second, but AqueroN was able to react in time, and he was able to get a beautiful concave on top of every single one of those adepts. Now Sim is about halfway done, about 3/4 done. A couple of tanks are out, and AqueroN's pulling a couple of boys. He wants to get those bunkers up.
What we just saw was hilarious, by the way. It's like, oh my god, the adept shaded in, and the DnS is like, oh my god, the adept shaded in, and then he just had to recall back home. Oh, nice pick off though on some of these SCVs. One of them does survive,
and most importantly, DnS knows the push is coming his way. Finishes off a couple of shield batteries by the natural base, by the third base location as well.
Exactly. Meanwhile, at the same time, the Phoenixes actually catch some reinforcements. There's only a single Phoenix here. We have the high ground, we have the ramp, we have the sentries for the force fields.
AqueroN is definitely going to have to rethink how he wants to approach this. He's going to rotate around, but the spotter probe will tell DnS everything he needs to know. The Phoenixes are still trying to catch reinforcements if there are any.
Yeah, another SCV gets picked off, and just like that, AqueroN is forced back. The surprise of this push is gone. It's no longer there. He's forced back, and he has to take a third. I imagine he's going to take a third.
Well, if he doesn't, then he has one push in him, and that's going to be about it.
Oh, he's going
okay,
again.
not pulling all of the boys. He's pulling some of the boys, and this is a pretty scary push, I've got to say. You know, DnS, I should say, it said he does have the shield batteries. He is finishing up Zealot charge, but he's mostly going to be relying on gateway units here.
Yeah, and the problem is that this was scouted in the middle of the map, but we do have a Phoenix that will confirm this as well. DnS, all he has to do is stay at home and defend. Again, AqueroN, he only has 2 bases. Like, he doesn't have a follow-up plan to this. He is essentially all in. +1 is on the way. It looks like he's going to want to hit before that, though.
Yeah, well, he needs to at least establish a foothold, otherwise DnS is going to have way too much time to get his defenses up. AqueroN trying his best to fight away from the shield battery range, and he's actually able to isolate the natural, but he cannot overextend. These tanks are still far in the back line. They can't provide too much support, and there's always a risk that the Phoenixes just lift them if the Marines leave him too exposed.
That there is. Meanwhile, I love the SCVs coming into play, throwing down that wall of bunkers, protecting the army from the charge-outs. Meanwhile, the charge-outs dive in, and the Phoenixes are trying to pick up the tanks.
Yeah, it seems like they've picked them up a little bit too late. The Marines absolutely shred through the gateway units. Most of the tanks survive. I cannot believe it, but AqueroN has maintained his foothold. How much longer can he hold it, though?
Well, what's important is that +1 did finish up. The boys are being pulled, and AqueroN, he's doing it. He's breaking through the defenses of DnS. And DnS, that was all he had. He's trying to warp in another round of Zealots, but is that really going to do it? It may.
This is so overstim. The bunkers aren't even done yet, but they're still providing such a good funnel for AqueroN. He's forcing a choke point where there really shouldn't be one.
Yeah, exactly. That was a little bit mistimed as well. He came in because he wanted to pick up the tanks, but actually these Phoenixes didn't have enough energy to pick up the tanks, so they did nothing. Now finally they can dive in, but there's a missile turret.
They did nothing but take some damage. There is a missile turret. Those Phoenixes can't stay for too much longer. One tank remains. Is one tank going to be enough? A couple of bunkers actually finished? I'm still very worried for AqueroN. I still think that he hasn't dealt enough damage yet.
Yeah, he needs to keep going.
More and more precarious.
Yeah, exactly. Like, the longer this goes on, the worse it is for AqueroN. He needs to get into a mineral line. Like, right now, there's nothing stopping him, but he's again, giving DnS so much respect here. So much room.
But I don't think he's noticed that there isn't really much by that mineral line. Now the Archons finish up.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's just about going to be enough. Archons and Zealots, they are one of the best counters you can really get to tanks if they can get in position.
Oh my god, we'll see if they can. That overcharge was doing wonders, keeping that Archon alive for so long, but finally the overcharge runs out. The Archon falls. These Phoenixes, again, they still aren't really doing much. Like, their lift-ups are so valuable, but you could argue that sometimes they're being wasted on Marines. Oh.
AqueroN is still up in army supply, by the way?
Yeah. He is, but you know what? His tanks are exposed, and it looks like finally they're going to get picked off.
Yeah, AqueroN definitely shows a bit of an awkward time to cut his losses.
Oh boy, this.
I was pulling every single boy. No!
I'm worried.
No.
I'm worried that this is too late. Like, he is all in 100%, but after losing that foothold, I don't know if he's going to be able to regain it. Meanwhile, this is spotted by DnS, mate. You gotta pick off whatever you can. You gotta pick off the reinforcements to tank. Puppy, please.
It's right there.
Oh my god, DnS. He goes for the Marines instead. Here come the boys.
I gotta say, I mean, it's still not looking too great for AqueroN, but with all of these boys,
yeah,
maybe there's a chance if they buffer enough. But the Archons get their splash damage in, a little bit of friendly fire from the tanks as well as these Zealots charge in. The Marines are kiting really well, though. AqueroN is doing this?
100%, mate.
AqueroN is doing this?
Mate, there was only a single Archon, and the Archons are good and all, but one Archon is not going to be enough to hold against the entire onslaught of Marines. With that, workers are going down. Finally, he's breaking into the natural base. DnS, though, the tanks are exposed! Oh, no.
Very exposed. There are some Phoenixes out now. These cells trying to do whatever they can. It will still take a little while for AqueroN to get his reinforcements in, but the Phoenixes have just about been eviscerated. Liberator coming in as well, and again, these Phoenixes are the only anti-air that he's got. Did the Cybercore go down? No, it did not, but
did not.
I mean, he doesn't have a lot of, he actually has a lot of gas, what am I saying? He's just, well, he can't get Stalkers in, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, exactly.
He doesn't have Blink, so the tanks will take care of them very quickly.
Speaking of the tanks, they are on siege. We do have the Chargers trying to get on top of them, but the Marine stutter stepping is just too good. GG gets called, and AqueroN, he takes the first game. Wow.
I love it.
Yeah, GG, pulling a bit of a
Biggest smile
Skylar,
plastered
man.
on
He
my-
just keeps fooling the boys.
I had the biggest smile plastered on my face. I don't know if it's confusion. I don't know what it is, but that was amazing. AqueroN, multiple times there were moments where your brain would have to say, this is too much, right? The Protoss can defend from here. He's given up his timing, but he made it work. The SCVs are the backbone of everything, really. They're just the backbone of an entire... They're the backbone of the Terran economy, the Terran army as well. AqueroN knew that. Full hand. Full hand? I think I'm mixing sayings here, but he knew that better than anyone.
I know what the hell you're saying, mate. You're like, AqueroN just broke your brain. Oh my god.
He did. For the better.
Oh god. But what I will say is that again, in that defense, like, the energy of the Phoenixes are so valuable, and we saw time and time again there were moments where the Phoenixes just didn't have enough energy to pick anything up. I do think that DnS was maybe a little bit too wasteful with them, and he didn't realize how much that was impacting his ability to pick up those tanks and neutralize them, because time and time again, like, those tanks got so much value, especially the first two tanks, like in that first wave. It took so long for DnS to clean that up.
Yeah, well, I can't say I really blame him there. In my experience, the Protoss player lifts up those tanks, and that's the end of the push. But I guess DnS, and myself as well, to be fair, didn't realize just how well AqueroN could kite the ground army with his Marines. Speaking of which, we are now loading into game number 2 on Blackburn. LE, we're in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, starting all the way in the bottom left-hand corner. We have the red Protoss player coming out from the land of France. He is currently teamless. He is DnS.
Spawning in the bottom right hand corner of Blackburn LE, we have the Spanish Terran player. He is blue, representing Alpha X. It is AqueroN.
Mate, I want to see what he's got for us now on Blackburn.
Oh god.
If he can pull off that push on Romanticide of all maps, end up having to pull every single boy at a time when, honestly, it felt like his opponent, when DnS should have had the game in the bag. I want to see what he does on Blackburn, which has a much shorter rush distance.
I have to assume, I'm gonna say this, that DnS was maybe underestimating AqueroN there and being too greedy and just maybe not taking the push as seriously as he should have. I'm going to predict that we're going to see a Blink Stalker opening. I'll be surprised if he goes for Phoenixes again. We'll see how DnS approaches this now being down in this series.
Yeah, which again, this is a very important match for both players. DnS is technically in the 4th place, but if he loses this, he drops down. I believe there may be a little bit of a tiebreaker as well because of how map scores get determined with, I don't really remember who's 6th place right now, but or who's 5th place right now, but I think that will come into effect. AqueroN, not at the bottom of his group, but is pretty close. If he wins this, he gets a 2nd win. He just needs to worry about his own matches for the rest of the tournament. If he loses this, then he needs some divine intervention to bring him to get him to the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of divine intervention, this is not a wall, by the way. Some nerves maybe getting to AqueroN a little bit here. As you were saying, this is his first time in the DreamHack group stage, and he hasn't had the best time in the group stage as well. So now being up in this series, he may be a little bit rattled. Boy, so hopefully he
Funny how
can.
that works, isn't it? I'm doing it. Wait a minute, I'm doing it.
Oh no.
I can relate to that. I gotta be honest.
Yeah. Nerves are a thing, and it's something that you just have to, again, just beat down or work through with experience. So hopefully AqueroN can kind of tighten things up a little bit here, because as you were saying, mate, he just needs one more.
Uno más. Un momento.
Oh boy.
And yeah, I didn't even realize AqueroN is having his DreamHack debut. I mean, he's a very, very young player. One of the newer guards coming out from the EU region, but I definitely remember his name for at least a year or two.
Yeah, he's been around. He's been around, definitely. Maybe not at the highest level play in EU, but, you know, here he is proving himself. I also want to say that I imagine there's a lot of StarCraft, or Spanish StarCraft fans. I know there are a decent amount of them out there, so yeah. I hope they're cheering hard for AqueroN. I know that the Spanish scene used to be huge back in the day, especially in Heart of the Swarm. You know, DreamHack Valencia was massive. Not just that, but also it was massive because Lucifron and Vortex, Vortex even, they were some of the best foreign players that we had in Europe. So
without a doubt.
Yeah, of course they have moved on. Meanwhile, oh god, the Oracle, oh my god.
A little bit of damage done here, and even more. I too kind of thought that DnS would take this game to open up with his Twilight Council first instead of the Stargate. Instead, he goes for the Stargate once more. Doesn't go for the Phoenixes, though. He goes for a very committed Oracle opening.
Hey, he's upset, man. He's like, you know what? I'm done with this nonsense. I'm just gonna cripple your economy time and time again, going for the double Oracle. At the same time, we do have a couple of these Reapers sneaking in. They do get one probe, maybe a second probe, but the Adept will be enough to push this away. Does scout the incoming Oracle, though.
It's gotta be thinking, 3 Oracles in a PvT? Come on, man. But it can catch a Terran player off guard, so yeah, again, it's really important that AqueroN scouted this. He's already getting the missile turrets up. Shouldn't take too much damage anymore. Oh,
exactly. Meanwhile, it was a 3-Rax opener. This was scouted, I believe, as I quickly check, and it was scouted by DnS, so he should be well aware of this push. Isn't aware of how committed this is, as boys are being pulled once again. Does spot the Marines on the way. Oh, he has the SCVs.
Slow this down. Well, for now, as
yeah,
Oracles has a pretty good vision, I gotta say.
Exactly.
DnS just going straight from mineral lines, it seems.
Yeah. Meanwhile, AqueroN, he's here across the map. We do have the stasis ward, and it's gonna go off.
Oh, but only going off on a handful of SCVs. AqueroN wants to break through, but battery overcharge is something you gotta respect, especially when you've got a Guardian Shield and Adepts versus Marines.
Yeah, and this is brutal, mate, because all these SCVs are essentially forfeit. AqueroN, he's forced to back off, and oh my god, I didn't think I'd see that, but he's getting a 3rd base.
Wow. He's getting a backwards 3rd base too, so, and not using that as a launch pad or anything.
Yeah, AqueroN, this is not how you all in.
Just, you summon.
Yeah, meanwhile, we have a 4th Oracle?
Okay.
What is happening right now? Oh my god.
Nice snipe on that stasis ward, but I'm not convinced that AqueroN can really break through. He's not convinced either. Backs away, he's working on his upgrades, but so is DnS.
Yeah, exactly.
6 gateways finish up.
More racks is being thrown down here for AqueroN. Unfortunately, he's going to try and transition from the failed all-in. So now he's down in workers. He's kind of down in tech as well. He's still only got nothing but marines to work with. No Widowmires, no tanks, nothing. Not even a tech lab on the factory.
Well,
just
Alec trying to
Marine Marauder.
Apologies here. Marine Marauder Medvac. That's all you need.
That's
We're
all
taking
you
back to Wings of Liberty.
That's all you need, Kappa. Oh boy. This is gonna struggle a lot, especially once DnS figures out the army composition and goes into splash damage, whether it's Colossus, Disruptor, or Storm.
Yeah, that Robo facility is about to finish up. Decent pick off on one of the Oracles, but there's plenty more where that came from, honestly.
That there is. Meanwhile, the first robo just now finishes up. There it is. There is that robotics bay. It was delayed by quite a bit, to be honest. But finally, it is on the way. We're going to be working towards those Colossus for that AoE, that splash damage. Oh my god.
Ooh, double Colossus production too. Really nice stasis ward. Catching a ton of the Marines. To be fair, I guess AqueroN isn't really going for a timing yet, isn't really going for the push, but still, it's annoying, if nothing else.
It really is. It really is. Like, if you want to be aggressive with these Marines, which I imagine he wanted to accomplish something with them, right? Like, he invested so much into this army, you got to find some damage. But unfortunately, I mean, at least he is able to clean up these adepts before they get into a mineral line, before they deal too much damage.
Yeah, force a stim out of him, but you know, there are medevacs out right now, so not the biggest of deals.
Yeah, exactly. Meanwhile, we were talking about that factory production earlier. Thankfully, we do have a reactor. We are seeing some Widow Mines coming out for AqueroN. He even teched up all the way into that Ghost Academy, so we have a couple of ghosts for that EMP. Honestly, this army is looking pretty powerful. And oh, we actually don't have Colossus. We have Disruptors coming out.
What? Alrighty then, we know how effective disruptors really can be, but we also know how unreliable they can be too. A couple of EMPs on top of those disruptors to weaken them up, and then have the bio snipe them down before the Purification Novas can land. This is going to be a very precarious fight for our Red Protoss player. A very precarious position for AqueroN though.
Oh my god, he doesn't even need the Disruptors, but finally the Disruptors are going off. The Purification Nova does connect, takes out both Widow Mines before a single shot goes off.
Nicely done, very efficient.
No! No!
His attention was elsewhere!
AqueroN, ¿por qué? Just like that, AqueroN, his push is completely neutered. He's forced all the way back home. DnS, he gambled a little bit with the Disruptors, now going for that consistent AoE with the Colossus, and DnS is looking fine.
Like, he just wanted the Disruptors to know that he could land the Purification Nova. Once he got it, that was it. Like, I'm satisfied. I'm gonna actually try to win now.
Yeah. Let's go. Again, DnS taking this a lot more seriously, rounding out his army. What can AqueroN do? Drops main. He's got plenty of bio to work with, then time to utilize it, right? Time to try and pull apart DnS. Problem is, we're on Blackburn, and these bases aren't too far apart.
Yeah, it really doesn't take too much for reinforcements to get in position and defend against the drops. Yes, that is the trade-off you get on Blackburn. Very short rush distance, very compact bases.
Exactly. So at least this drop is able to get a couple of probe kills, 5 probe kills, as well as a pylon. It's not bad damage at all, but we need a little bit more than that. There we go. We do see a triple medevac drop being set up to dive into the main base. This is what we've been waiting for.
I don't know about you, Light, but what I was waiting for was the Dark Shrine.
Let's go. Dark Shrine being thrown down. I mean, this will be scouted, especially if the drop goes into the main base. The problem is that, like, drops into the main are cool and all, but typically you want something more, right? You want like a drop into the main and like a push at the fourth at the same time. With only one form of aggression, like, it doesn't take much for DnS to defend.
Yeah, something that can really distract the main army while the drop into the main gets damage done. Oh, gonna lose one medevac full of units. Meanwhile, we were talking about the distracting force. There was that drop towards the northern 4th base, but honestly, 5 Marines. Also a little bit mistimed, unfortunately. No overreaction for DnS. Calm under that pressure. He's able to deflect the attacks from both the north and the south.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, at least all the oracles have finally been cleaned up and they've all been dealt with. This is great. But AqueroN, he needs to take drastic measures. I would have loved it if the third base was the gold, to be honest. You know, that would have been a way to get back into this. Other than that, I mean, at least he's still getting it. He's getting his fourth base. You know, we're kind of equal in bases, I guess. And interesting, he is working on Lib Rangers. He's making 4 Liberators at a time.
Oh, yeah, he's really committed to this. He's getting +1 ship weapons as well. I imagine +2 not. Shortly behind AqueroN is there's a term for this style of Terran, but I don't quite remember it. But yeah, Ghost Lib player. You don't see that as often nowadays, I find.
Yeah, you do not. So, again, Liberators are going to do so well against this. Sniping or, again, keeping the Protoss army at bay. There's no real answer to it at the moment. So, because of this, AqueroN, it's going to be so difficult for DnS to really push into this location.
Especially how choky it is.
Yeah.
4 Liberators sieged up right over there. Toss in a couple of EMPs, and that is a Protoss army that's just begging for death.
Exactly. So, AqueroN, he is set up beautifully here outside his natural and third base, going for a bit of a run by with his Marines. Gonna try and find whatever damage he can, and now it is on DnS to try and come up with a better response or a better angle of attack. Oh god, oh god.
Ooh, nice split here. Will take a couple of losses. A couple of Marines do go down, but at least he's able to pick off 2 of those disruptors, actually forcing a lot of army to come back home.
Yeah, exactly. Like, DnS, he was close to maxing out, so he couldn't warp in to defend in time, so this drop dealt a lot of damage, but is going to deal as much damage as all these DTs.
Yeah, thankfully there is some detection, and that is a planetary at the gold base, but Shadow Strike has finished up. These DTs can just blink right on top of that missile turret.
Oh yeah, we've seen time and time again. If you have enough DTs, they can kill a planetary, even if there is detection. So, I am worried about this gold base. At the same time, we do have a massive drop. Not just a drop, the Liberators are headed out as well. He wants to take control of the main.
Base trade? Question mark?
Let's go. Oh my god. Oh my god.
There, the DTs collapse on top of that planetary fortress and take it out. I thought he was going to go for the missile turrets, but no, he has enough DPS to take out the entire base. AqueroN a little bit on the back foot, but his drop does get into position.
And here we go. We are going full-on base trade mode. DnS dominating the army on the other side of the map. Meanwhile, AqueroN plummeting in supply. He does have a nice foothold up in the main base of DnS, but at the same time, we can always see a recall.
That we definitely can. Good positioning for those Liberators, but there's more than enough Stalkers on the ground to deal with that.
Yeah, exactly. As all the Liberators finally get picked off here. The drop in the main base, again, is dealing a lot of damage. Depowers the majority of the production, as well as all of these upgrades. With the power of these Liberators, DnS will not be able to push up this ramp. But at the same time, yo, AqueroN may just lose from elimination. He does not have a lot of buildings left.
Very possible.
He has 0 mining right now.
He doesn't, and DnS is even, or was getting a Tempest. That's been depowered now. There's no air units right now for DnS. AqueroN may be able to force a draw if he floats buildings to the corner.
The problem is that we have plenty of mining, so DnS, he can just throw down Stargates. Like, DnS,
unless
like, AqueroN is in a really rough position. He's doing whatever he could because, again, like, base trade is really the only way. He can't scan!
He can't scan!
Oh, no.
And there we have it. GG is called. DnS will take that series to the ace match. I really thought for a sec that AqueroN was trading a little bit better on DNS's side of the map, but I looked at the army supply and it told a completely different story.
No, yeah. DnS was dominating the fights, mate. It was insane. Like, that entire game, you could tell that DnS was a little bit upset about game 1 and he wanted to prove himself that, mate, DnS is a top Protoss player. He can perform better than whatever the hell game 1 was.
I think I approached it from it was the boys.
It was the game that broke your brain, mate.
The boys. I'm surprised my brain wasn't already broken.
Oh god, exactly. But with that, you know, DnS, he ties up the series and he's looking to redeem himself. Meanwhile, AqueroN, he's still only still only one game away. Time and time again, we've seen him go for 2-base all-ins. Do you think he's going to do it again here on 2,000 Atmospheres?
I think he's going to proxy tank.
Oh, that proxy tank?
I have nothing to base that on, not even any anecdotal data. Oh, well, I guess anecdotal data is kind of an oxymoron. I just have a gut feeling, you know?
I
feel it in my bones.
Yeah.
I think that's just my innermost desires shining through, but
I love the idea of I love the idea of a proxy from AqueroN. I want it. I want it, man.
But does he really want to risk it on the ace match? Let's find out as we conclude this series on 2,000 Atmospheres. LE, we're in the top right-hand corner map, spotting all the way at the top right-hand corner. We have the blue Protoss player coming out for the land of Spain. He is going to be representing Alpha X, the #1 Hydro homie out there. He is AqueroN.
And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of 2,000 Atmospheres LE, we have the French Protoss player. He is red, representing himself and the land of France. It is DnS.
I'm just keeping my eyes on that production tab, I gotta be honest. Like, that's all I'm looking at right now. Well, I guess the mini-map as well. See if there's any cheeky movements from an SCV or a probe, but so far, stock standard.
Yeah. So far, stock standard. I'm a little bit disappointed. Like, obviously, you were saying it. It does take a certain kind of person, not just player, but person, to put it all on the line and proxy in the ace match. You know, you have to be someone like Maru or someone like SOS. You know, someone without any dignity. But yeah, unfortunately, it is neither one of these players.
Yeah, they are still very, very sane.
Oh god, yeah. So far, so standard from these two players, and when I say standard, I imagine AqueroN is going to be aggressive again. But I don't know how I feel about that on 2,000 Atmospheres. Like, again, this is one of the more larger maps.
That's exactly why DnS won't see it coming.
I mean, it worked on Romanticide.
It did, funnily enough. It worked even when the initial pushes didn't work. I want to point that out.
Oh yeah.
See, time and time again, like the narrative that we always tell ourselves is that Terran, if they're going this aggressive, they have to win with that one push, otherwise they're out. AqueroN, he didn't win with the first. He didn't win with the second. He didn't even win the third. He won with the fourth push, which was hyper aggressive, pull every single boy.
I would say he won with the first push, man. I don't know about you now. Those two tanks.
Well,
god, again, the value, mate, the value.
Well, there was still a chance for DnS even after that point, right?
True. Very true, very true. Not wrong at all there. As we are getting into game number 3, once again, Stargate opening from DnS. He's never gone for a Twilight Council opening at all this series.
Huh. It's definitely very intriguing to me.
Yeah.
Maybe he's a little bit too used to PvZ.
Meanwhile, ooh, the Adept actually sneaks into the main base. Ay, ay, ay. A couple of workers are going to go down. Not just that, but he also gets a full scout of the main.
Yeah, notice that this time, it is going to be a 1-1-1. Well, it's a 1-1 for now.
Yeah, I was about to say, like,
just yet.
Yeah, am I blind? Like, typically we would see a starport being built right now, right?
We would. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what the third one in 1-1-1 implies, isn't it?
Yeah.
AqueroN?
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot less mining time there because he had to pull all the boys, so it did delay his starport. I think that's the thing that we're really pointing out here, is that because of that Adept, like, pressure, like, it dealt an insane amount of damage, more than was really intended.
Definitely. I did not expect a single Adept to get 5 SCVs just like so, but DnS, his Adepts, they're just built different.
I guess so. As all that damage was done, we do have a full-up Phoenix. The Phoenix is going to be able to slip on in, get a full scout. Oh, wouldn't mind.
Oh, he noticed the shimmer. Or I guess the line.
Yeah, in the end, the Widowmine shot does not go off. And with that, DnS, he's well aware of what's coming his way, and Yo Phoenixes are a great way to shut down these drops. Oh my god, he's not going for a drop.
I was gonna say, yeah, fully expected it to be a mine drop. That's what we expect from a Terran player who's going 1-1-1 like this, but instead he prioritizes a Liberator, utilizing these Widow Mines a lot more defensively for the time being. And a tank behind this too? I don't think I've ever seen this before.
Oh my god. Up! Decent shot. Yeah, but the Widowmine will be able to take out the first one. Is he going to do it again? Oh my god!
Well, a Phoenix went down, but it wasn't the Phoenix I expected to go down, if I'm being honest.
Exactly. Meanwhile, DnS may have just spotted that Liberator. It's hard to say. But because of the build that we're seeing right now, I'm pretty sure AqueroN's going to pull the boys again. Like, he's got a tank.
He needs some kind of a buffer, right?
Yeah, he's got his Marines. He doesn't have Stim or anything, but he's just working on that Liberator and Viking. I imagine he just wants to push with everything he has.
I want to point out that this hasn't been proxied either.
It hasn't.
But I'm kind of used to seeing Terran players go for that proxy starport Liberator into Vikings. I don't often see them build it at home.
Yeah, neither do I, as we do have 2 more Raxes being thrown down here. That Marine count is getting higher. We're getting a second tank alongside this. Meanwhile, DnS, he's just, you know, probing up at home, chilling. I am a little bit concerned that he's going to take this too easy, like game number 1. Because this is going to be a strong push, and this man doesn't have that many gates. Like, the additional gateways are only just now on the way.
He definitely doesn't want to overestimate the abilities of his Phoenixes. Tanks and Marines are already moving into position. The Liberators and Vikings not too far behind. The Vikings may even be able to snipe the Phoenixes if they try to lift up the tanks. Yeah. Oh no.
Exactly, like this is going to be a powerful push here. There's a shield battery, there's an overcharge, but the army is not in position. Like, this third base is very much so under threat, mate.
It's also not much of an army to begin with either. The Liberator gets dealt with as the Vikings surprisingly were landed instead.
Yeah, they were landed. The tanks are dishing out so much damage, the entire Protoss army falls. And so will the shield battery, and maybe even more. Again, AqueroN has a little momentum here. He should at least be able to take the third.
Yeah, I mean, this third has got to be forfeit, right? DnS now sharking around, trying to see if he can pick off any reinforcements. He has realized he has to give up that base. He's getting 4 gateways behind us, so I'm liking DNS's chances of surviving from here, but he is taking a lot of losses.
That he is, and we'll see. Hopefully AqueroN does turn back from here. He doesn't want to overstay his welcome, and again, like, mate, you want to get out of here. Oh my god, he's sticking around.
Well, if he is able to draw out the army, then he should be able to win those engagements, and he does take out a couple of Zealots over on the other side of the map. Meanwhile, DnS was able to pick up some tanks. Very expensive unit. Much more so than the Zealots that he's been losing. You
say tanks. He took down 2 tanks. He took down a Liberator as well. Like, Marine after Marine are falling. Like, the reinforcements are just not happening. And here we go. AqueroN finally evacuates. He finally turns around. But he's racing DnS back home.
And Chargeloads, they've got good legs. Marines without Stim, unfortunately, they can't quite compare.
Yeah, no Stim, no combat shields. Again, like, that was a very committed attack. It was pretty all in, and DnS deciding to go for a counterattack and not engaging the army was definitely the right call, as the boys are forced to be pulled.
Just like so. This is definitely going to equalize the damages that AqueroN was able to do. Now sandwiching the Protoss army, but still losing 13 of his SCVs, 16 of them even. I have to wonder if this will just prompt AqueroN to pull every single boy then.
I don't know if there's going to be many boys left after this. I think the game may just end because every single tank goes down. The Zealots close the distance as well. There are a lot of Marines, but again, mate, 0-0 Marines, no Stim, no combat shields. They have nothing.
Completely vanilla. That forward gateway as well that DnS is using as a reinforcement point is really pinning AqueroN to his natural base. I had a little bit of hope, I gotta be honest. I really thought that after taking out that third base, AqueroN could just hit back home and get a third, but Then I noticed in the production tab, he was never getting a third base.
Nah, man, he was 100 all in, man, all in. European
commit,
Skylar,
you know?
let's go. And the bunker is falling, and with only Marines here, oh god, AqueroN, he's struggling to hold on. Every single time he tries, he just loses another mineral line.
You know, mineral line worth of SCVs, 13 more of them fall. Not a great game to be an SCV, or a mule for that matter.
Definitely, as now DnS has maintained control of the low ground. There is no way that AqueroN is going to be able to reclaim this. I mean, Stim is about to finish up, so at least he will have that going for him, but he's on one base, mate, and DnS expands.
One base versus 3. He's getting Stim, but DnS already has Archons. And AqueroN does not want to give this up just yet. He knows how precarious his spot is in the group stage. He knows that if there is a way to come back in this game, he needs to find it so he can be a little bit more secure, but he doesn't find it. GG is called. DnS takes that series 2-1, and it's looking a lot more secure when it comes to advancing to the playoffs.